Let's begin. Okay, we are going to start now with part 2 of Virgo and Aquarius. And we left off with discussing nature and the elemental squares and the modality compatibility or incompatibility. And we discussed that, we have fixed air and mutable earth. As long as there is a mutable in the mix, things can work out, because if one person is fixed and is not going to change their ways, it might have to come from the person who's mutable, which in this case would be Virgo. So there is an opportunity for this to work. Also, the mythology seems to complement both of these signs. For there is a very long mythological history between Mercury and Uranus, and therefore linking Virgo and Aquarius. Not so much Gemini and Aquarius, which is also ruled by Mercury, because Mercury rules both Gemini and Virgo. But in this instance, we're dealing with the Virgo aspect of Mercury versus the Gemini aspect of Mercury. And when we combine it with Aquarius, there tends to be a mythology that confers, like I mentioned in part 1, that of unity, partnership, sharing of resources, and also a commonality. So, it really depends on what that commonality is. And the commonality that actually binds Virgo and Aquarius together is their capacity for great intellect. Okay? I'm sorry, I don't know what is going on here. Oh, is something going wrong here? Alright, that seems fine. So, we are going to talk about, I talked about, the Aquarian man in part 1 with the Virgo woman. And I gave trinkets. I really didn't go too deep into it because I was discussing other philosophical aspects of the sign, hoping that that can shed more light for you to discover on your own what this can mean should you know a couple and with this combination. So I am going to go into the Aquarian woman and the Virgo man, but I'm going to finish up a little bit, add a little more information concerning the Aquarian man and the Virgo woman. But before I do that, I think I should discuss certain commonalities. Okay? Now we have to categorize things. Okay? Because according to the mythological archetypes, Virgo and Aquarius compatibility it should be strong. It should be strong, because both of them want to influence society in some way. Virgo wants to change the future of society by enhancing it through health and healing. Aquarius also wants to influence society and also change it from within. But he wants to do it through the visionary aspect of the external, that which is coming our direction, and that we as human beings should be aware of the next evolutionary step as humanity that we're heading. So the Aquarian psychology and psyche is towards teaching us as individuals how to connect to the collective so that we can prepare for that which is coming. Excuse me. There is not much room for personal or interpersonal individual concerns between one person and another. You know, for that, we will have to look towards Libra, cardinal air, which concerns herself with interpersonal relationships and one-on-one relating and dealing. This is not the case with Aquarius. Aquarius, especially the man, doesn't deal with one-on-one interaction of an interpersonal nature. And that's important to understand. The only interpersonal aspect that Aquarian will engage in with a person will be using that person in which he's communicating with as a soundboard to his ideas. He won't be too interested in your ideas if they don't measure up to his or if they don't make any sense. Sometimes Aquarius needs to hear his own thoughts be bounced back to him. But for that to occur, he needs to meet someone that's equal or greater. And he seldom finds that individual in which to be an equal to. Nor does he specifically seek it. What he does seek is to influence the collective, a group of people, towards thinking secularly in a particular direction of ideas, which he may endorse. And if he is to engage in an interpersonal relationship, you best believe that the basics of an interpersonal relationship dynamic, like doing laundry, washing the dishes, doing domestic work, discussing what went on in the day, not so much with the intellectual aspect of the day, like what you read in newspapers and what do you see in the news, but more the emotional reactions of the day. How did you feel? What did you go through during the course of the day? Now, emotional exposition for the Aquarius man is almost impossible, if non-existent. So already we are dealing with a deficiency already coming into the relationship with the Aquarian man and any woman, although we are specifically speaking today about him and the Virgo woman. Okay? So, the Virgo woman, who's far more astute and powerful. Remember, Virgo is a commander of forces, the forces of nature. Remember, she's Virgo, she's Earth, the maiden. The universe and the gods respond to Virgo. Just look at the mythology, okay? I've oversaturated the mythology between Virgo and Scorpio, in which we clearly see Virgo's importance. So, in this respect, the Virgo woman will truly have to be in love with this man and truly forgive his social ineptitudes concerning interpersonal relating, communicating, even emotional expression. This is difficult for the Aquarian man. It's difficult for the Aquarian woman too, but not to the degree that it is for the Aquarian man. The Aquarian man, like I mentioned, is handsome, and even if he's not handsome, there's something erotic and sexy and beautiful about him, which emanates from his body. Which is why the symbol of Aquarius in the zodiac is that of the man, not the woman, but the man. Total masculinity, total yang energy. Whereas Virgo, the only sign in the zodiac which represents the woman in the zodiac, is Virgo, the maiden, the virgin. She who carries the corn, which is absolute femininity, both inwardly, emotionally, and outwardly. And out of all the signs of the zodiac, Virgo is the most feminine in its expression. Not Cancer, not Pisces, which are the other feminine signs, but Virgo. and you see this femininity in both men and in women, but in different phases. Virgo represents the 12 lunar mansions of Asia Minor and those of Islam. Now, there were 6 constellations before there were 12 constellations. And Virgo was one of those 6 original constellations. So Virgo and the mythology of Virgo goes way, way, way back in antiquity, which explains its beauty and virtue as a sign, and also its expression of that sign through the beauty of nature, which is exclusively expressed by Virgo. So understand that can be destroyed or marred or stained by the emotional indifference of Aquarius, who may not appreciate that which the Virgin stands for. Not so much because you don't give a shit, but that technically can be it too. But the more simple and obvious reason is that the Aquarian man is not concerned with individual experiences of another. Now, don't get me wrong. Aquarius can be a maverick. He can be a loner, an anarchist, a rebellionist. But that's only in its radical extreme. For the most part, the Aquarian man shows that level of maverick and loner type expression through isolating himself and his ideas, isolating himself from others, and just insulating himself with his own philosophy and his own ideas. That's the individual expression psychologically expressed through behavior and personality of the Aquarian ego in this respect. It doesn't mean that he doesn't favor the individual. It's just that he doesn't count as far as the grand scheme of things. For that, we need to deal with the collective. An example will be dealing with the ant. Ants. The ants as an individual don't count. But when they work together, they are a complex network of workers that is far more sophisticated than anything a human being can do. Another example in nature where we can see that also is to the bees. You have the queen bee, and then you have the drones, and then you have the other bees that work, and they all have different functions supporting the queen bee to create the honey. They don't work individually. Like the Borg. Remember the Borg of Star Trek? The group of beings that would take and conquer other planets and other cultures and assimilate them. Resistance is futile. Remember that Star Trek, the Borg? Okay, so Aquarius kind of borders around this type of analogy. The Aquarian mindset is not centered on the individual concerns of anybody. The mindset is to aid the collective, enhance the collective, improve the collective, or gather individuals to form a collective, like the rebel who gathers people to develop a militia and overthrow government. These are all typical Aquarian themes. The Aquarian man can be also very self-destructive in his thinking and ideology, especially if it's not funneled by reason and logic. And this can happen when he's young, when the mind is most fertile and most easily influenced. Okay? Thank God that we don't have many David Koreshes out there. Remember Waco, Texas? The guy that burned alive his entire flock of people and fought the government? He had a lot of Aquarius in him if he wasn't Aquarius. David Koresh. You know, and what about William Applewhite from Heaven's Gate? The ones that murdered his people by them drinking a barbiturates because the spaceship was waiting for them and they were going to leave their bodies and go in spirit to the spaceship because the earth was going to be destroyed. They all committed suicide. And David Applewhite and Aquarius with strong Aquarius signatures. So Aquarius can be very dangerous in his ideology if it goes way off track. Jim Jones, if you might be too young to know the story of Jim Jones, Jamestown. This man, a strong Aquarius emphasis, but a Virgo, killed almost 890 people by making them drink cyanide Kool-Aid in Guyana, and then making his soldiers drink it and kill themselves. These are all the dark side of Aquarius, with very dark ideologies that can go wrong. So the Aquarian man has a warped mind and inner world. And he's trying to forever make sense of it. So he's not concerned with the individual concerns of another human being. He don't care. He don't get the time to care. He don't get the time to care. He's trying to figure himself out and where he fits in the grand scheme of things. So imagine with all that going on in his head, then you have a woman at his side that just wants him, you know, to be normal and human. The Virgo woman will probably be the closest of all the other 11 women of the zodiac that will understand him and actually give him a space, or give him the space for him to be who he is or be what he wants to be. The Aquarian woman can make this relationship work. Yes, she can make it work. Because the Virgo woman can be just as impersonal as the Aquarian man. Both of them don't feel comfortable emotionally or with emotional exposition, not of each other or anybody else. So also they really love the functioning of the mind and using the mind to really come to the world and get at the world and make practical sense of the world. Yes. Let me tell you, this cannot work out if with a Virgo woman, yes, it can work because she can be patient. She can connect with him emotionally through the agency of the mind and the intellect. And that will be enough for the Virgo woman. It will be enough for the Virgo man. The question becomes, though, will there be enough passion? Will there be enough passion in the relationship? That's the question. Because if there isn't enough passion, then this can become quite a boring relationship. One that can fizzle out quite early. So then, what do you do? You know, there has to be more than just an intellectual connection. But it begins there. You see? In reality, there's a lot of people and a lot of sites out there that say that Aquarius and Virgo are incompatible and that there's no way that they can be compatible. But then again, there are other sites that are saying the same thing about all the signs of the zodiac. And then that Aquarius really is not compatible with anyone. Well, the same thing can be said about Scorpio too. And I've heard that and seen that in other sites as well. That, you know, there's no way that Scorpio can be compatible with anyone. But we can also say that about Aries, the god of war. You know? Yet there is a commonality and there is a way, a bridge, if I will, that can be formed with these complicated signs and the rest of the signs of the zodiac. Nothing is sticks and stones. Nothing is sticks and stones. Things can be worked out. It's just a matter of putting the energy and the time and the effort, and really intrinsically get to the heart of the issue. You know, Honestly, not superficially. This combination doesn't have to be incompatible, but there are more failures with this combination than there are successes. So we have to then label them as incompatibility. The one good thing about Virgo and Aquarius is that they both have a connection with the intellect. Now, jumping now into the female Aquarius, a female Aquarius with a Virgo man can work just wonderfully. Because the Aquarian woman, even though she could be kind of unconventional in the way she approaches domesticity, which is important to the Virgo man, because he's a very routine domesticated animal. So if he is gonna have a wife who's an Aquarius woman, she may need to express that innovative, eccentric, or otherworldly aspect of her domesticity through her different approach of approaching domesticity, of approaching the way she solves things. Instead of going to the grocery store, she might order things online, use the computer more. Because Virgo can be so future oriented, and so can Miss Aquarius, that they can make it work together if they find a common interest or a commonality. The Aquarian woman is fun for the Virgo man because she's fun and she can find a way to get him out of his own head and cause him to relax. Now, he might dress up stiff. She'll put him in a nice shirt, all buttoned down, nice, make him sexy, make him look good. No, she could spice him up and get him out of his routine. It's so paradoxical because Virgo is a mutable sign. Aquarius is the fixed sign. But yet it will be the Aquarius woman that will get Virgo out of his fixity. Because even though Virgo is a mutable sign, he truly is rather fixed in his head, isn't he? Acting a lot more like a fixed sign than a mutable sign. These are aspects of the undiscovered ruler of Vulcan, the true ruler of Virgo. So that's one aspect that we can clearly see is not Mercury, but it belongs to another planet. Vulcan, our undiscovered ruler. But in the meantime, until Vulcan makes his presence known in our solar system, the custodial adoptive parent will be Mercury for the time being. And Mercury doesn't fit the total description of Virgo. But he does fit the total description for Gemini. So our planet is truly Vulcan. But it will appear in our solar system in another 2.5 years. And what a phenomenon that's going to be. So understand that Aquarius and Virgo together can be wonderful together, harmonious together. Their connection will be sexual, well, not sexual, but intellectual. And if they're good looking and they like each other and they find each other hot, they are going to make that connection as well via the mind and communication. They will find innovative and creative ways to connect with each other that will allow them to develop a very sensual, fulfilling life that will allow them to express themselves as individuals in their own way and on their own terms. Because both Virgo and Aquarius are so private. And so, they're just so prudish in many respects that they can really deserve each other. But the one that's going to evolve the other, because there's always one of the two in a relationship that will evolve one and the other. And for me, it will be the Aquarian woman evolving the Virgo man. And that ends part 2 of this combination.